The shotgun blast echoed across the empty field like a thunderclap from hell, shattering the fragile peace of the autumn afternoon. Caleb's hands trembled on the steering wheel, his knuckles white as bone. As he floored the accelerator, gravel spitting under the tires like accusations. In the rearview mirror, the silhouette of his father's furious face blurred into the dust, but the words, "You're dead to me, boy," hung in the air, heavier than the lead that had nearly ended it all. Blood pounded in his ears, a frantic drumbeat drowning out the radio's static country twang, as he hurtled down the back road toward nowhere. Anywhere but that crumbling farmhouse in rural Ohio where secrets had festered for too long. The weight of the leather duffel bag on the passenger seat pressed against his thigh, stuffed with nothing but faded jeans, a dog-eared journal, and the shattered remnants of a life he could no longer pretend to live. Caleb didn't stop driving until the tank sputtered empty just shy of the Indiana border, the sun dipping low like a guilty accomplice. He pulled into a dingy truck stop off I-70, the kind of place where fluorescent lights buzzed like angry hornets and the air smelled of diesel and regret. His phone had been vibrating nonstop, texts from his sister, voicemails from his mom, but he let it die on the seat beside him, screen cracked like his resolve. He slumped over the counter at the all-night diner, nursing a black coffee that tasted like battery acid, when the waitress slid a napkin his way. "You look like hell, hon. Runaway or roadkill?" Her voice was gravelly, laced with the no-nonsense twang of someone who'd seen too many drifters. "Both," Caleb muttered, forcing a half-smile that didn't reach his eyes. He was 24, with the lean build of a guy who'd spent summers baling hay instead of hitting the gym. His dark hair tousled from the wind whipping through the open window. Back home in Millersburg, he'd been the golden boy, quarterback in high school, heir to the family feed store, the son who never rocked the boat. Until last night, when the boat capsized in a storm of his own making. It had started innocently enough. A stolen kiss at the county fair with Jake Harlan, the rough-around-the-edges mechanic who'd fixed his truck one too many times. But whispers turned to shouts, and his father, ever the pillar of small-town righteousness, had grabbed the old Remington from above the mantel. Not to kill Caleb, no, that would be too merciful, but to scare the devil out of him. As the old man roared, the blast had shredded a pumpkin on the porch instead, orange guts splattering like confetti from a funeral. Now, exiled without a map, Caleb stared at the napkin, doodling absent spirals with a pilfered pen. Exile. The word fit like a too-tight collar. His only lifeline was an old family connection. Aunt Lydia in the heart of Amish country, just outside Shipshewana, Indiana. She'd always been the soft spot in the family tree. The widow who baked pies laced with secrets and sent care packages that smelled of cinnamon and quiet understanding. "Come if you need to," she'd said once, years ago, after his parents' blowout over money. He hadn't planned to cash that check so soon, but desperation was a hell of a motivator. By dawn, he'd bartered a 20 for gas from a sympathetic trucker and hit the road again, the flatlands unfolding like a rumpled quilt under a sky bruised purple. The drive blurred into hours of Highway 20, cornfields whispering judgments as he passed. What was he even running toward? A fresh start? Forgiveness? Or just the illusion of one? Shipshewana materialized like a mirage. Tidy white farmhouses dotting the landscape, black buggies clopping along dirt lanes, the air thick with the scent of fresh-mown hay and wood smoke. Aunt Lydia's place was a sprawling red barn affair on the edge of town, surrounded by acres of soybeans that swayed like a golden sea. She met him at the door with flour-dusted hands and eyes that saw straight through to the marrow. "Caleb, my boy," she said, pulling him into a hug that smelled of yeast and lavender. No questions, no pity, just a mug of chamomile tea and a room in the attic with a quilt his grandmother had stitched. "The farm's got space for healing. And Elijah, he's out in the fields today. You'll meet him soon enough." Elijah. The name landed like a soft rain on parched earth, but Caleb filed it away, too raw to wonder. That first night, he lay awake under the slanted ceiling, the house creaking like an old ship, listening to the distant low of cattle and the rustle of leaves. Sleep came in fits, haunted by his father's face, twisted in betrayal. Betrayal. God wasn't that rich? As if loving who he loved was a sin worth a bullet. Morning broke with a rooster's insolent crow, and Caleb dragged himself downstairs to find Aunt Lydia at the stove, flipping pancakes with the efficiency of a general. "Eat up," she commanded, sliding a stack his way. "The farm don't wait for broken hearts." He managed to chuckle, the first real one in days. Broken hearts and blistered hands. Sounds like a country song. She winked, her silver hair catching the light. "Darlin', it's the only kind worth singin'." After breakfast, she handed him a pair of work gloves and pointed him toward the barn. "Elijah's handling the milking. Tell him I sent you. And Caleb? Whatever chased you here. Can't follow if you don't let it." The barn loomed like a cathedral of splintered wood and shadowed stalls, hay motes dancing in shafts of sunlight. Caleb paused at the threshold, heart thudding, half expecting ghosts. Instead, he heard a low murmur, a voice, deep and rhythmic, coaxing the cows like old friends. Pushing open the door, he stepped into the warm, earthy gloom. There, kneeling by a Holstein with gentle hands that moved like poetry, was Elijah. Tall and broad-shouldered, with sun-kissed skin and hair the color of ripe wheat cropped close. He looked up with eyes the shade of storm clouds, gray-blue, piercing yet kind. A faint scar traced his jawline, a whisper of some untold story, and his flannel shirt clung to muscles honed by honest labor. "Mornin'," Elijah said, not missing a beat as he attached the milking machine with practiced ease. His voice carried the lilt of the Midwest, vowels stretched like taffy, comforting in its familiarity. "You must be the nephew Lydia mentioned. Caleb, right?" Caleb nodded, throat dry, suddenly aware of how out of place he felt. City slickers soft in this world of calluses and quiet strength. "Yeah, she said you could use an extra hand." Elijah straightened, wiping his palms on his jeans, a small smile tugging at his lips. It wasn't pity in his gaze nor curiosity, just a steady welcome, like the farm itself absorbing a new rain. "Always could. Milking's half the battle. The rest is mending fences. Grab a stool over there. I'll show you the ropes." As they worked side by side, the rhythm of the farm seeped into Caleb's bones. The steady whir of the machine, the soft nickers of the herd, Elijah's occasional hum of an old hymn under his breath. Conversation flowed easy, like creek water over smooth stones. Talk of the harvest yield, the best bait for trout in the nearby creek, the way the stars looked brighter out here than anywhere else. "You're not from around these parts," Elijah observed after a while, glancing sideways as he led a cow back to her stall. "Accent's got a bit of Ohio twang, but there's steel in it, like you've seen some city lights." Caleb hesitated, the hook of truth lodged deep. "Millersburg, family farm, same as this, but things got complicated." Elijah nodded, not pressing, his silence a balm. "Complicated's the spice of life, makes the simple days sweeter." He clapped Caleb on the shoulder, the touch brief but electric, a spark in the dry hayloft of Caleb's isolation. "Come on, lunch break. Lydia's got sandwiches that'll make you forget your name." That afternoon blurred into a montage of labor, hauling feed sacks that left Caleb's arms screaming, repairing a sagging gate under Elijah's patient guidance, the two of them laughing when a rogue chicken escaped and flapped triumphantly into the rafters. For the first time since the shotgun's roar, Caleb felt the knot in his chest loosen, just a fraction. Elijah moved through it all with an effortless grace, his laughter a low rumble that chased shadows from the corners. By dusk, as they washed up at the pump out back, water cold and shocking against sunburned skin, Caleb stole a glance at his reflection in the trough. The man staring back had color in his cheeks, a spark in his eyes. Not healed, not yet, but breathing. "You did good today," Elijah said, shaking droplets from his hands. "Farm life's got a way of stripping down to what's real. No pretenses out here." Caleb met his gaze, the words hanging unspoken. What if what's real scares the hell out of everyone? But he swallowed them, nodding instead. "Yeah, real's underrated." Dinner was a family affair, just the three of them around the scarred oak table. Lydia regaling them with tales of her late husband's escapades, Elijah chiming in with dry wit that had her cackling. Caleb sat quiet at first, absorbing the warmth, the easy camaraderie that felt foreign yet achingly right. When Elijah passed the mashed potatoes, their fingers brushed, accidental, fleeting, and Caleb's pulse jumped like a spooked colt. Later, as stars pricked the velvet sky, Caleb wandered to the porch swing, journal in lap. He scribbled fragments: exile, gentleness, gray eyes like mercy. The word Elijah looped at the bottom, ink bleeding slightly where his hand shook. From the fields, a lantern bobbed, Elijah, checking the perimeter. He paused, spotting Caleb, and raised a hand in salute. No words, just that steady presence. A lighthouse in the gathering dark. That night, sleep came easier. Dreams laced not with blasts, but with the scent of hay and the echo of a hymn. Days bled into a week, the farm's cadence wrapping around Caleb like a well-worn coat. Mornings started with dew-kissed chores, Elijah's instructions turning to stories. How he'd inherited this patch from his grandfather, a Quaker who believed in plain living and high thinking. How he'd left college in Bloomington after his partner's accident, a car wreck that stole more than breath, leaving Elijah adrift in grief's undertow. "You're queer too," Caleb blurted one afternoon, as they forked hay into the loft, sweat beading on their brows. The word hung bold, unapologetic, the first time he'd voiced it aloud since the fairground kiss. Elijah paused, pitchfork balanced, his expression softening into something vulnerable. Still am, I suppose. Name's Elijah Kane, gay as the day is long. Lost Micah 3 years back. Taught me love's a fragile thing. Beautiful, but it breaks easy. Caleb's chest tightened, empathy flooding the spaces his own fear had hollowed. Mine's recent. Dad found out. Nearly blew my head off to fix me. Elijah's face darkened. A storm gathering. Jesus, that's not fixing. That's fear talking through a gun barrel. He set the fork aside, stepping closer, close enough that Caleb could smell the earth on him, the faint soap from morning's ablutions. You deserve better than that, Caleb. Gentleness, the kind that builds instead of breaks. The air thickened, charged with unspoken possibility. Caleb's hand twitched, wanting to reach, but he held back, the ghost of betrayal still too fresh. Instead, they finished the loft in companionable silence, the weight between them shifting from burden to bridge. That evening, over cider on the porch, Lydia excused herself early, leaving them with the firefly's glow. Elijah pulled out a battered guitar, fingers coaxing melodies from strings worn smooth by touch, old folk tunes about ramblers and redemption. "Sing with me," he urged, voice low. Caleb shook his head, laughing. "Can't carry a tune in a bucket. Don't need to, just feel it." And so he did, harmonizing in hums, the music weaving through the twilight like thread through cloth. When the last chord faded, Elijah set the guitar aside, his eyes locking on Caleb's with an intensity that stole breath. "You're healing already," he murmured. "I see it." Caleb's throat bobbed. "Because of this place. Because of you." A beat. Then Elijah's hand covered his, deliberate, warm, a promise in the press of palm to palm. No rush, no demand, just connection, pure as spring water. In that moment, exile felt less like punishment and more like providence. But shadows lingered. A letter arrived midweek, postmarked Millersburg, in his father's blocky scrawl. "Come home, boy. We've prayed. This devilry can be cast out. Don't make me fetch you." Caleb crumpled it, flames devouring the words in the kitchen stove, but the ash settled heavy in his gut. Elijah noticed, of course. Old wounds reopening? More like picking at scabs. Caleb sighed, staring out at the fields. He thinks he can pray it away, like I'm a phase. Elijah leaned against the counter, arms crossed, his presence a steady anchor. Faith's a funny thing. Twists folks into knots when it should untie 'em. My granddad used to say, "God don't make mistakes, but men sure do." The wisdom landed soft, easing the sting. They spent the afternoon fishing at the creek, lines cast into lazy waters, sharing silences broken by laughter when Caleb hooked a boot instead of bass. Elijah's stories flowed freer now. College days in Bloomington, stolen moments in dorm rooms, the ache of Micah's absence like a hollow in his chest. "You're strong," Caleb said, as the sun dipped, painting the water gold. "Carrying that." Elijah shrugged, but his eyes betrayed the cost. "Strength's just showing up, day after day. You too, running here, that took guts." Their shoulders brushed, a casual lean that lingered. Caleb's heart raced, the pull magnetic, but he tempered it with caution. Trust built slow, like a barn raised plank by plank. As weeks unfolded, the farm became canvas for their unfolding bond. Shared chores evolved into rituals. Dawn rides on the old John Deere, Elijah's arm steady around Caleb's waist as they navigated ruts. Evenings stargazing from the hayloft, constellations mapping futures unwritten. Touches multiplied, fingers grazing over tools, knees bumping under the table, each a step across the chasm. One crisp October morning, as leaves turned flame, they tackled the apple orchard. Ladders propped against gnarled branches, baskets filling with ruby fruit, the air sweet with fermentation. Caleb teetered on a rung, reaching for a high cluster, when the ladder wobbled. "Easy," Elijah called, dropping his basket to steady it, hands firm on the wood, and on Caleb's calf anchoring him. Laughter bubbled up, but as Caleb descended, their faces inches apart, the mirth faded into something deeper. Elijah's breath warmed Caleb's skin, gray eyes searching, asking without words. "Can I?" Elijah whispered, thumb tracing Caleb's jaw. Caleb nodded, world narrowing to the press of lips, soft, tentative, then deepening with the hunger of withheld longing. It was a kiss like coming home. Tender, tasting of apples and earth, Elijah's hands cradling his face as if he were porcelain. They broke apart breathless, foreheads touching. "I've wanted that since the barn," Elijah confessed, voice rough. "Me too," Caleb breathed, the admission freeing as flight. From there, romance bloomed subtle, profound. Notes tucked into lunch pails, think of the creek tonight. Walks hand in hand under moonlit skies, bodies curling close on the porch swing, conversations delving into dreams deferred. Caleb's abandoned art school aspirations, Elijah's quiet wish for a family beyond blood. But harmony harbored cracks. Lydia's health faltered, a cough that lingered, doctor's visits hushed, and the farm's bills mounted, harvest lean from drought. Elijah shouldered it stoic, but Caleb saw the strain in shadowed eyes. Then, betrayal's specter reared. Jake Harlan, of all people, tracked him down via Lydia's old Facebook. A call, voice slurred with beer. "Heard you're shacked up with some farm boy. Dad's comin' for you, Cal. Says it's time to man up." Panic clawed. "Stay away, Jake. We're done." "Not till you are." Click. Caleb's hands shook as he pocketed the phone. Elijah's question in his gaze met with evasion. But secrets fester, and when his father arrived unannounced, truck rumbling up the drive like Judgment Day, the storm broke. Elijah was in the barn, oiling harnesses, when the gravel crunched under heavy tires. He straightened, wiping rag on rag, peering through the door at the battered Ford F-150 kicking up dust like a devil's tail. Out stepped a man built like a storm cloud broad, weathered face etched with lines of unyielding conviction. Amos Whitaker, Caleb's father, scanned the yard with eyes sharp as barbed wire, spotting Lydia on the porch before bellowing her name. "Elijah," she called, voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "Company. Unwelcome kind." He stepped out, heart sinking as he clocked the family resemblance. The set jaw, the dark hair graying at temples. Caleb emerged from the house then, face paling to ash, the color draining like milk from a tipped pail. "Dad," he said, flat as a frozen lake. Amos's gaze raked over him, then flicked to Elijah, narrowing in that instinctive judgment small towns bred. "Get your things, boy. We're leavin'. This detour's over." Caleb planted his feet, chin lifting. "No, I'm staying." a bark of laughter, bitter as bile. Stay in? Plain house with this deviant. The word landed like a slap, venom dripping. Elijah stiffened, rag twisting in his fist, but held silent. Anger his, but the fight Caleb's. It's not playing, Caleb shot back, voice cracking but holding. This is real. You and Mom raised me to know the difference. Amos advanced, boots thudding authority. I raised you to be a man, not some abomination. The church, the pastor, they all pray for you. This sickness, we can cure it. Come home, son, before you damn us all. The air crackled, Lydia interjecting soft but steel. Amos, that's enough. This is my home. Caleb's welcome long as he draws breath. He rounded on her, face purpling. Enabling this? Lydia, for God's sake. God's sake? Elijah's voice cut through, calm as a scythe through wheat. He stepped forward, positioning between father and son, not aggressive but unyielding. Maybe God's about grace, not guns. Ever think of that? Amos's eyes bulged, finger jabbing. You, stay out of family business, queer. I know your kind, ruinin' good boys. The slur hit like shrapnel, but Elijah absorbed it, gaze locked steady. Love don't ruin. Fear does. Caleb's hand found Elijah's arm, squeezing, a lifeline. Dad, go. Please. I love him. The words detonated. Amos recoiled as if struck, face crumpling from rage to raw anguish. Love? That's not love. That's the devil's lie. He lunged then, grabbing Caleb's wrist, yanking him toward the truck. In. Now. Instinct surged. Elijah moved, wrenching Amos's grip free with controlled force. Years of farm labor lending strength. Let him go. They squared off, breaths heaving. The yard a coliseum under indifferent sky. Amos swung wild, fist glancing Elijah's shoulder. A glancing blow that staggered but didn't fell. Caleb shoved between them, voice breaking. Stop, Dad. You're the one breaking us. Sirens wailed distant. Lydia's neighbor, ever watchful, dialing 911. Amos froze, reality crashing, then deflated, shoulders slumping like a punctured tire. You choose this, over blood. I choose me, Caleb whispered, tears carving tracks. Finally, Amos backed away, defeated, climbing into the truck with a last, shattered look. Engine roared to life, taillights fading into the dust, leaving silence thick as fog. Elijah pulled Caleb close, arms enveloping, murmuring nonsense comforts into his hair. It's okay. You were brave. Caleb clung, sobs racking. He hates me. No, he fears losing you. Big difference. But the lie tasted bitter. Elijah knew hate's face too well. Lydia herded them inside, chamomile brewing anew, her cough muffled behind a fist. Family's what you build, not what's born, she said, patting Caleb's knee. This here's yours now. That night, curled in Elijah's bed, the first time beyond chaste holds. They found solace in whispers and warmth, bodies aligning like puzzle pieces long separated. No frenzy, just healing touch. Fingers tracing scars, lips brushing temples, the quiet affirmation of here, now us. Morning brought practicality. Police report filed, minimal fuss. Amos cited for disorderly, a slap on the wrist. But the emotional quake lingered. Aftershocks in Caleb's haunted stares, Elijah's overvigilance. Work resumed, but tension threaded chores. Caleb quieter, Elijah's jokes forced. One evening, as they mended the east fence, posts splintered from winter's wrath, cracks widened. You should have let me handle it alone, Caleb said, hammering too hard, nail bending. Elijah paused, wire cutters idle. And watch him drag you off? No, it was my mess. The hammer swung again, missing, glancing the post. Your mess is ours now. Elijah caught his wrist gently. But hiding behind fences, literal or not, won't fix it. Caleb yanked free, frustration boiling. Easy for you to say. You lost Micah, sure, but your family's gone. No one's left to betray you. The words landed cruel, unintended. Elijah recoiled, face shuddering. Gone? They chose to leave after the funeral. Said I brought shame. But betrayal? That's a blade you wield fresh. Silence stretched, barbed. Caleb reached, apologetic. Elijah, save it. Elijah tossed the cutters into the toolbox, striding off toward the barn, back rigid. The rift festered. Days passed in polite distance. Chores divided, meals strained. Lydia noticed, hurting them for a talk over pie, but pride walled them off. Caleb threw himself into art, sketching the farm in his journal, charcoals capturing Elijah's profile in stolen glances. Elijah buried in ledgers, farm debts mounting like storm clouds. Climax brewed with Lydia's diagnosis. Stage 2 lung cancer, whispered in the doctor's office. She broke it gentle over supper, fork poised midair. Ain't leavin' without a fight, but the farm needs you boys strong. Shock bonded them temporary, hands clasped under the table, resolve hardening. They rallied. Elijah selling heirloom tools online, Caleb tutoring local kids in math for cash. Their touches tentative bridges over the chasm. But betrayal's second strike came sly. Jake Harlan, drunk and desperate, showed at the farm gate one midnight, bottle in hand. Cal, talk sense into you. Caleb met him alone, porch light haloing his silhouette. Go home, Jake. We're toxic. Jake sneered, eyes bloodshot. Toxic? You're throwing away everything for him? I told your dad where you were, for your own good. The admission gutted. You betrayed me? Love's supposed to hurt, right? Jake lunged, sloppy kiss attempted, rebuffed. Elijah emerged then, shadow from the dark, voice thunder. Leave, now. Jake spat, retreating, but seeds of doubt sown. In bed later, Caleb confessed, tears hot. He sold me out, like it was nothing. Elijah held him fierce. You're worth everything. Don't let him dim that. Reconciliation flowered slow. A shared dawn patrol, apologies murmured over coffee. The kiss that sealed it deep in the orchard, apples crunching underfoot. I need you, Caleb breathed. All of you. And I you, Elijah replied, heart sinking. Winter crept, snow blanketing fields in hush. Lydia's treatments sapped her, but spirit shone. Organizing community fundraisers, her boys her pride. Caleb's sketches evolved into a portfolio, emailed to galleries in Chicago. Elijah proposed partnership, farm ink on paper binding them legal. Yet conflict peaked New Year's Eve, blizzard raging. Power flickered, generator humming, when Amos returned. Not with fury, but fragility. Knocking snow-dusted, eyes hollow. Need to see my boy. Caleb faced him in the lamplight, Elijah at his side. Words tumbled. Regret, sermons wrestled. A pastor's counsel urging reconciliation. I was wrong, scared, but blood's thicker. Not if it's poison, Caleb said, voice steel wrapped in sorrow. I forgive you, Dad, but I choose this life. Amos glanced at Elijah, gnawed grudging. Take care of him. Always, Elijah vowed. Departure quiet, truck vanishing into whiteout. Caleb collapsed then, Elijah catching, their embrace a harbor. Spring thawed wounds. Lydia's remission tentative, farm greening. Caleb's art show in South Bend sold pieces. Portraits of Elijah, raw and reverent. They married quiet, Quaker style, hands joined under meetinghouse beams, vows whispered true. Years layered. Adoption of a foster boy, wide-eyed orphan named Theo. Expansions to organic co-op. Lydia's porch tales enduring. Love tested, deepened, gentle, fierce, American as apple pie and open roads. In Exile's wake, they'd forged home. Not flawless, but fiercely their own. No, the story arcs higher, conflicts deeper, before grace descends. That New Year's standoff? It was merely the prelude to the real tempest. The one that would test if their fragile Eden could weather betrayal's gale force winds. Amos's visit lingered like frostbite, numbing Caleb's edges. He threw himself into the farm's revival, sketching logos for the co-op while Elijah plowed furrows. Their nights a tangle of reassurance. "He's trying," Caleb murmured one dawn, tracing Elijah's collarbone in the gray light. "That's something." Elijah kissed his temple, mustache tickling. "Something's a start. But trust? That's earned slow." Lydia, frilier now, watched from her rocker, knitting scarves for the farmer's market. "Boys, life's too short for half measures. Love loud." Her words propelled them to the South Bend gallery opening, Caleb's exhibit, Fields of Mercy. A series of charcoals and oils capturing the farm's soul. Lydia's hands gnarled as roots, Theo's, they'd taken him in temporary, pending papers, gap-toothed grin mid-chase, and Elijah, always Elijah, in vignettes of quiet power. One piece, Anchor, showed him knee-deep in creek, lantern-lit, face upturned to stars, vulnerability etched in every stroke. The crowd buzzed, locals and Carhartts mingling with urban collectors, champagne flutes clinking against the indie folk playlist. Caleb, in his one good button-down, fidgeted as a curator gushed, "Raw, authentic. You've bottled the Midwest's heart here." Elijah, handsome in pressed khakis, squeezed his hand under the table. "Told you, talent like yours? It's a gift." Sales trickled, 3 pieces, enough for a down payment on solar panels. Elation carried them home, windows down, radio blaring Springsteen, Theo asleep in the back seat from the sitter handoff. But dawn brought the serpent. A voicemail from Jake, voice oily. "Congrats on the pretty pictures, artist boy. But your old man's comin' around church picnic next week. Bring your boyfriend. Show 'em you're reformed." Laughter cruel. "Or don't. See how that goes." Caleb deleted it, gut churning, but the seed rooted. Elijah caught the pallor over breakfast. "Spill. It's the picnic. Dad wants me there. With you." Caleb poked at eggs. Appetite fled. "Public. Like a test." Elijah's fork paused. "And fear. Millersburg's small. Tongues wag. So let 'em." Elijah's tone sharpened. Old wounds surfacing. "We hide. They win." Caleb's jaw set. "It's not hiding. It's timing. Timing's coward's excuse." Elijah pushed back, chair scraping. "Micah and I? We fought private. Regret it every day." The slam of the door echoed. Elijah storming to the barn. Caleb sat stunned, Theo's small hand patting his. "Uncle Lee mad?" "Yeah, buddy. But mad can mend." Simmered days, chores mechanical, touches avoided. Lydia mediated, pulling Caleb aside. "Pride's a thorny vine, darlin'. Cuts both ways." He nodded, resolving. That evening, under the harvest moon, he found Elijah in the loft, sorting seeds by lamplight. "I'm scared," Caleb admitted, sitting cross-legged on bales, "of losin' the family I got left. But you're my family too. We'll go. Together." Elijah looked up, relief softening lines. "Proud of you." He tugged Caleb close. Kiss sealing peace. Slow, deepening. Hands roaming shirts untucked, but stopping at thresholds. Hearts the true terrain explored. The picnic dawned humid. Air thick as unspoken slurs. Millersburg Park brimmed. Checkered blankets, potato salad sweating in bowls, kids shrieking on swings. Amos waved them over, Mom beside him, face pinched but eyes hopeful. "Boys," he greeted. Handshake firm to Elijah. A concession. Introductions graded. Pastor Hale's grip lingering too long on Caleb's shoulder, murmuring prayers answered. While aunts whispered behind fans. Jake lurked by the grill, smirk fixed, but Caleb ignored, focusing on small victories. Mom's hug, sister's kids clambering for stories. Then fracture. A cluster of elders, beers in hand, cornered Elijah by the cooler. "Heard you're the one tinin' our boy." One slurred, burly as a bull. "Shame on farms these days." Elijah's laugh was ice. "Tanin'? Nah, just lovin' honest." Fists clenched, but Caleb intervened, arm linking Elijah's. "Enough. We're leavin'." Amos trailed them to the truck, apologetic rumble. "Won't happen again. Swear." but damage done. Driving home, Caleb seethed. Told you. Timing. Elijah gripped the wheel white-knuckled. You think I wanted that? But runnin' feeds the beast. Words escalated in the kitchen, voices rising over cooling pie. You're blind to it, Caleb yelled. This world's not your quilted dream. And you're chained to ghosts. Elijah countered, hurt flashing. I thought we were free. Lydia's cough interrupted, sharp, doubling her. They rushed her to ER, pneumonia on chemo's heels. Hours in sterile wait, hands clasped across vinyl chairs. Recriminations dissolved in fear. She'll pull through, the doc said, but warning rang. Rest. Support. Homecoming fragile. They nursed her. Broths simmered, stories read, bond reforged in service. Theo's chatter bridged gaps. His uncle Kalalige smushed into unity. Betrayal's third wave crested unexpected. Elijah's ex-partner's brother, long estranged, surfaced with a claim. Micah's life insurance. Undisputed till now, contested, alleging Elijah's lifestyle invalidated it. Lawyer letters piled, threatening the farm's equity. Elijah crumpled one in the office, face ashen. He knew. After the funeral, said I'd burn for it. Caleb found him there, door ajar. We'll fight. Can't. Costs more than we got. Elijah's voice broke. Maybe sell. No. Caleb knelt, hands on knees. This farms us. Our fight. They lawyered up pro bono. LGBTQ Center in Indy. Depositions dredging grief. Micah's laugh. Their plans. The Rex horror. Elijah testified steady. Caleb at his side. But nights haunted. Elijah thrashing from nightmares. Caleb soothing with songs. Climax crashed midsummer. Court date coinciding with Lydia's rally. Verdict loomed as they drove to Millersburg. Irony bitter. For a truce dinner, Amos's olive branch. The farmhouse loomed unchanged. Porch swing creaking. Mom's meatloaf steaming. Talk tiptoed, crops, Theo's first words. Till Amos cleared throat. Heard about the suit. Wrong. I'll testify. Stunned silence. Mom nodded. Family helps family. Relief tentative, but when Elijah's phone buzzed, judge's call. Case dismissed, payout cleared. The table erupted cheers, hugs awkward but real. Back home, bonfire crackled, beers cracked. To mending, Elijah toasted, arm around Caleb. To us? Caleb echoed, kiss public under sparks. But humanism's arc bends slow. Lydia's cancer returned aggressive. Fall leaves mirroring her fade. Hospice in the front room, farm pausing for vigils. She passed gentle, hand in theirs. Last words. Love. Yonder. Grief hollowed, but unity filled. Funeral plain, community turning out. Even Amos, head bowed. Farm carried on, co-op thriving, Theo's adoption finalized. Years wove, Caleb's book of sketches published, Elijah's solar fields powering neighbors. They mentored fosters, built a queer youth center in Shipshewana. Gentleness multiplied. In twilight fields, hands entwined, Caleb murmured, Exile led here. Elijah smiled, gray eyes soft. Homes where gentleness lives. Autumn's gold had barely tarnished when the real unraveling began. Not with shouts or shotguns, but with a letter slipped under the door like a thief in the night. Elijah found it at dawn, wax seal unbroken, addressed in a hand sharp as a scythe, to the heirs of Kane Farm. His fingers trembled as he broke it open, coffee forgotten on the counter, the words blurring through sudden tears. It was from his uncle, Harlan Kane, the black sheep who'd fled to California decades ago, chasing gold and tech rather than grain. Now, dying of pancreatic cancer, he sought absolution. The farm, deeded to him in youth but sold off in spite, was his regret. But attached? A codicil, contesting Elijah's inheritance on grounds of moral unfitness, citing old Quaker bylaws twisted to bigotry. The payout from Micah's policy? Challenged again, this time with fabricated affidavits from witnesses to Elijah's debauchery. Caleb stirred then, patting in with sleep-rumpled hair, sensing the storm. Elige? What's? Elijah thrust the letter forward, voice hollow. It's a vulture. Pickin' bones. They pored over it by lamplight. Theo still abed. Lydia's quilt draped over knees for warmth. The claims were vicious. Allegations of neglect in Micah's care, implications of infidelity, all to strip Elijah bare. They can't, Caleb breathed, fury rising. It's lies. But lies stick, Elijah replied, folding the paper with care, as if it were fragile glass. Harlan's got lawyers, big city sharks. Farms collateral. The fight reignited old fissures. Caleb pushed action. Calls to allies, petitions to the center. But Elijah withdrew, haunted by Micah's ghost amplified. Nights, he'd pace the porch, guitar silent, while Caleb sketched feverishly, portraits turning anguished. Elijah's profile shadowed, eyes like bruised skies. Lydia, sensing the drift, called a council. Over her special cornbread, crumbly, buttery. She laid it plain. Betrayal's a mirror, boys. Shows your cracks. But love? That's the caulk. Her wisdom stuck, but action lagged. The hearing loomed in Fort Wayne, snow dusting the drive as they loaded the truck. Theo bundled with his uncle's old bear. Now theirs. Amos met them there, unexpected, in a ill-fitting suit, his presence a grudging bridge. Pastor said, "Make amends. I'll speak for the boy." Elijah's nod was curt, gratitude unspoken. The courtroom smelled of polish and pretense. Judge stern under robes. Testimonies dragged. Harlan's proxy, slick-suited, painting Elijah as pariah. Quotes from neighbors who'd never set foot on the farm. Then Elijah rose, voice steady as plow lines. "I loved Micah true. Farm's my blood, not my shame." He spoke of quiet mornings, shared burdens, the accident's theft. Not fault, but fate. Amos followed, awkward but earnest. "My son's man enough for two. Elijah's good folk. Deserves his due." The judge ruled swift. Claims baseless, payout intact, farm secured. Outside, snow swirling, Elijah sagged against Caleb, relief a sob. "Didn't think I'd breathe again." Amos clapped his back. "Breathe deep, son. Air's free." Reunion tentative. Dinner at the farm. Mom's pie alongside Lydia's. Theo charming with finger paints. But seeds of deeper conflict sprouted. Elijah's trust fractured, intimacy faltering. Touches turned obligatory, kisses chaste. Caleb ached, confronting over creekside walk. "It's not you," Elijah confessed, skipping stones across ice-rimmed water. "It's me, feelin' tainted, like love's a curse I carry." Caleb stopped, turning him gentle. "Love's our strength. Let me in." The dam broke then. Elijah's arms crushing, kiss desperate, pouring out fears in the cold. They made love that night slow, reverent, reclaiming bodies as sacred ground. No rush, just union, whispers of forever. Spring's thaw mirrored renewal. Co-op launched, solar arrays gleaming, youth center breaking ground with community shovels. Amos among them, sleeves rolled. Theo's adoption sealed with cake and tears. His daddies lisped with joy. But climax crested savage. Jake's final gambit, born of spite. Drunk driving through town, he clipped a buggy, Amish family, minor injuries, but pinned it on the farm queers in rants to cops, twisting old rumors into arson threats against the center. Slander spread wildfire, funding dried, volunteers vanished. Elijah, targeted, received hate mail. Sodom's seed, burn it down. Caleb found him in the barn, fists bloodied on a post. "We fight," Caleb said, bandaging hands with tender swipes. "Together." The rally formed organic. Protest at the station, signs waving. "Love thy neighbor." Elijah spoke, voice amplified. "Hate hides hurt, but we're here, building bridges." Jake confessed under pressure. Charges dropped for rehab, but scars lingered. The center rose stronger, donations pouring, a testament. Lydia's health rallied too, volunteering, her laugh echoing halls. "See? Humans in the hustlin'. Summer solstice, they wed proper. Backyard vows under oak, Theo ring-bearer, Amos best man. Rings exchanged simple, gold bands etched with gentle anchor. Years rippled, Theo's first school play, farm tours for city kids, Caleb's second book a bestseller, Elijah's TEDx on rural queer resilience. Betrayals faded to footnotes, love the bold print. In golden hour fields, hands laced, Caleb smiled. Exile's gift. Elijah pulled him close. You are. Yet even in abundance, shadows slink. Betrayals echo. Not ended but evolved. 2 years post-wedding, with the youth center thriving, dubbed Haven Fields. Theo's crayon logo adorning doors. Elijah's past clawed back, not from kin but from within. A letter from Bloomington. Micah's sister, long silent, seeking contact. For closure, she wrote, but enclosed photos. Elijah and Micah young, blissful. Then Elijah post-rec, hollow-eyed at bars, a rebound fling captured blurry. Guilt gnawed Elijah silent, nights tossing, Caleb waking to empty beds. Talk, he urged one dawn, coffee steaming between them. Elijah's confession spilled halting. After Micah, I lost myself, drank, hooked up, thought it'd fill the hole. Caleb's heart twisted, not jealousy, but sorrow for the pain unshared. Why hide? Fear you'd see the broken parts. Think less of me. Caleb cupped his face, thumbs wiping tears. Broken's beautiful. It's how light gets in. Therapy followed, couple sessions in indie, raw unpackings. Elijah's vulnerability deepened their bond. Touches turning exploratory anew. Intimacy a dance of rediscovery. External storms brewed too. Farm economy tanked, tariffs biting, co-op teetering. Amos, retired but restless, invested savings. A lifeline, but strings attached, modernize or sell. Debate raged kitchen tables, voices heated. It's pride, Caleb argued, not progress. Elijah countered, survival's progress. For Theo, rift widened, chores strained. Climax erupted Harvest Eve. Board vote loomed, Elijah citing expansion, corporate buy-in, against Caleb's organic purism. You'd sell our soul? Caleb shouted, journal slamming counter. For our son? Yes. Elijah's retort cut deep. Lydia, visiting from her cottage, remission holding, mediated. Souls and people, not plots. Vote passed narrow, expansion greenlit. Betrayal stung. Caleb packing a bag, crashing at Haven. Need space. Elijah's plea followed. Porch vigil. Rain-soaked. Don't go. We're better than this. Caleb relented. Embrace drenching. Promise we choose us first. Expansion succeeded modest, hybrid model, ethics intact. Farm saved, lessons etched. Theo's 10th birthday marked pivot. Piñata swings, cake smeared. Then a letter from Jake, rehab graduate, amends sought. I was lost. Sorry for the wreckage. Forgiveness granted cautious, coffee meetup yielding ally. Jake volunteering at Haven, redemption arc quiet. Lydia's decline returned subtle. Fatigue, coughs return. Tests confirmed spread. Prognosis months. Family rallied. Amos driving treatments. Mom cooking freezes. Theo drawing cards. Hospice again, her room wildflowers. No tears, she rasped, hands in theirs. Live loud. For me. Passing at equinox. Leaves falling confetti. Funeral swelled, Haven full, eulogies weaving her legacy. Elijah's words. She taught gentleness. We carry it. Grief's winter softens spring. Memorial garden planted. Perennials nodding. Caleb's grief book, Quilted Grace. Honored her. Proceeds funding scholarships. Betrayal's last whisper. Harlan Keynes will contest it anew by cousins. Farm threatened. Elijah, steel-forged, litigated fierce, community petitions, media buzz. Victory hard won, deed ironclad. Summer solstice anniversary. They renewed under oak. Theo officiating kid style. You may kiss the daddies. Laughter healed. Love's tendrils spreading. Decades turn brought maturity's patina. Theo teen gawky, braces glinting, debating at Haven debates. Pharma model, agritourism buzzing with city folk seeking authenticity. Caleb adjunct professor, South Bend U, lecturing art as resistance. Elijah podcast host, fields unfenced, voices queer rural tales. Conflicts mellowed, arguments over Theo's curfew, not cores, but betrayal's ghost revisited in Jake's relapse. Sober 3 years he slipped, DUI fleeing town, crash total. Coma ward vigil, Elijah at bedside. You were family. Fight. Awakening slow, amends deeper. Jake sober sponsor now, Haven board. Amos's stroke felt sudden, rehab grueling. Caleb drove daily, bridging old chasms. Proud. Amos wheezed one visit. Of you both. Healing reciprocal, family dinners norm. Theo's vegan tacos clashing mom's meatloaf. Laughter loud. Climax gentle now. Theo's coming out, 16, over pancakes. Like you guys. Gay. Embrace collective, stories shared, no shotgun, just support. Love's your compass, Elijah said. Theo's first boyfriend. Shy artist. Dinner's awkward charming. Lydia's garden bloomed riot. Bees humming hymns. Annual memorial. They danced slow under strings. Her spirit in breeze. One twilight. Fields amber. Caleb and Elijah walked fence line. Hands swinging. Exile feels lifetimes ago, Caleb mused. Elijah halted. Pulling him close. Kissed sunset warm. Gentleness found us. We became it. Theo hollered distant. Dinner call. Life's chorus. In America's heartland sprawl. Their story etched. Dramatic tempests weathered. Emotions plumbed. Romance enduring. Humanism triumphant. Not flawless, but fiercely human. Love, betrayal's foil, prevailed quiet, profound. Fade to stars, farm lights winking, promise perpetual.